Good morning, everybody. It's Cindy with Candles and Supplies, and I am so excited to be doing this Facebook Live today. It has been a long time. Somebody already commented. I think that was my good friend Carol. It has been a very long time since our Facebook Lives, and I hope to be doing more of these. I felt it necessary to do this one today because we have a new line of all natural waxes, much to everyone's enjoyment, so we're super excited. It's not like this line is anything incredibly new or revolutionary or anything like that. What we're doing is just refining our processes. There's a few challenges that we've had. There's always challenges in everything, but there's a few challenges that we were hoping to overcome by launching this new line. And I want to explain each one today. So I want to go through each wax today, explain each one, why we have it, why you would want it, what the benefits are, what maybe some of the pitfalls are, go over a little bit of the testing that we did and stuff like that. So just give you an overview. I see lots of people saying hi. Good morning, everybody. It's so good to see you today on this Friday morning. It's beautiful here in Pennsylvania, a little chilly, but beautiful. Still perfect candle making weather. So good to be here. And thank you all for coming. If you have any questions, I would like this to be an interactive discussion. I love being in front of a classroom full of people, but right now we're not doing that. We will be bringing our classes back in June. Starting the first weekend in June, our classes will resume. You should see those on our site within the next week or two. So we're working on that now for you. But for today, if you have any questions at all, put them in the comments. If I don't get to them, I'll go through the comments once we've gone through the waxes. If I don't get to them right away, there's people online right now watching, and they'll be answering your comments, and I will monitor them and look at them and stuff like that. So that way everybody's questions are answered. This session is going to be recorded. It's going to be stored on our Facebook page too. So if you have any, if you want to watch it again or have any questions moving forward, you'll always be able to view it as going into our archives in our library. So, all right, let's get started. The first wax I want to show you, I'm going to move the camera around a bit just so that you can get an up close and personal view of each of the waxes, because that's one of my favorite things in life, is to become personal with waxes. So what I'm going to do, the first one that we're going through, I hung signs on the wall, which are like in mirror writing to you guys, so that's kind of hard to read. But the first one that I'm going to go over is our Easy Coconut Container Blend Wax. All of the waxes are in Perils. Hopefully you can see this. I'm having a hard time. All the waxes are in Perils. This is the easiest type to work with because the easiest packaging method. Slabs are cumbersome to break, and it's hard to get the right amount when you need it. These are very simple to measure out, to weigh. They also melt down really quick for you. So that's what it looks like. When I do my testing, I love to have like a nice 50-pound box of fresh, clean wax just to start making candles with, do all types of things. Get fancy, all types of wicks, all types of jar styles and stuff like that. For our test candles today, I picked a few of the more difficult ones just to show you, some of the benefits and some of the pitfalls you may have too. Why we developed this Easy Coconut Container Wax, position this, why we developed this. We used to have a product a while ago, Easy Beads. It was very, very popular. Everybody liked it. A few downfalls about it, which made us discontinue it, is availability, number one. Number two, when it came to you, the beads were not as nice as these because they didn't have as good of equipment as what we're using right now. So you pretty much got like a 50-pound clump of things that you would have to cut apart. So we did get some feedback about that. Easier beads that are more solidified would be much easier to work with. So this is an improvement on that. It also does not smell like food oil, so the Easy Beads kind of smelled like food oil sometimes. We got some feedback on that too. I don't know why. I don't know what was going on there. The blender assured us they were using the same materials each time. Each of these waxes is from a brand new blender. This blender is actually more, in the big world of waxes and stuff like that, candles are about this much of waxes. The food industry is the biggest part of the wax industry, and then cardboard, and candles fall down somewhere below that. So the big blenders don't necessarily try to cater to the candle makers because we're a very small part of the industry. But with our industry growing and booming like it is, we've been able to order these waxes and get these waxes with the big blender technology processes, which are a lot better than working with smaller blenders and smaller batches. So a little scary ordering hundreds and thousands of pounds of wax at a time, but I'm so confident you're gonna like these and no problem at all. These are gonna be great. Much more consistent too. Big batch consistencies are much, much better than small batch consistencies. So that's the reason for that. This also, so if you look at the ingredients on this is made from soy, coconut, and beeswax. So it's very similar to the coconut container slab wax that we already have. I would say it's a little more of a natural color. It's not quite as white. If I had to guess, it's still pretty white. Everybody loves the coconut container slab wax. Again, very hard to find because we're working with a smaller blender. Not hard to find, it's just been hard for us to keep in stock, and it's been very hard for them to keep up with our demand. So we're not discontinuing any of the waxes that we already have. We're keeping those because if you've used those and you're used to those and you love those, we are absolutely keeping them. We use them, we love them and everything too. We just want to have alternate options because when we're out of wax and we don't have it to ship to you, you can't make candles. And you know, everybody's making them and selling them like crazy right now. This is the easiest, hence the name Easy. This is one of our easiest waxes to use. Literally number one, because it's in beads and you can melt it down easy. Number two, because it's very simple. You just heat it up, add your color and scent, and pour. I have found that I poured at all different temperatures. So my little test candles here, I always write notes about what I do and pour temperatures and stuff like that. I have poured at all different temperatures, not paid attention on a lot of them. It has very good jar adhesion. So if you see this candle, see how beautiful that is around the side. Very good jar adhesion. This is no color. I always do a no color. So this is what it looks like. You can see it's a pretty creamy color, very nice looking. I was already test burning it, so very nice looking. Smooth tops, so like after you extinguish the flame, nice smooth tops, because that's the beeswax in it. Beeswax kind of smooths out the soy and the coconut. Also kind of enhances the scent throw too. Now this has no odor when it comes to you. It's got no coconut odor, it's got no soy odor, and no beeswax odor. So it's completely odorless, so you can add your own color and fragrance. And just really simple to use. So this jar, this is our 17-ounce oversized tumbler, very popular jar, also very easy to work with as far as jar adhesion and stuff like that, so super easy to work with. I choose for my test candles to pick something a little more difficult. That way I can tell if the wax is going to fail or do something funny or tricky or anything like that, we'll know about it. So this one, you know, I made this, it was beautiful. Honestly, I did pour it 140 degrees, which is a little cooler. I put all these, so all these candles are going to be available in our showroom, so if anybody comes to visit us, you'll be able to see these exact candles that are being made famous on Facebook Live today. So I always print out labels about what I do, the wick testing and stuff like that, no color, what scent I use, what temperature I poured at. So this effect, I poured it like 140. Very, very nice. Just let it cool a little bit more. Typically with natural waxes, you get smoother tops and a more consistent finish if you pour cooler. So I like to try pouring cooler. I also like to try pouring hotter, which is what I did yesterday. These were also, so an apothecary jar, this was poured a little bit hotter. So this was poured at 160. And as you can see, still very good, smooth color, a little bit of bloom on the top. Bloom is that white chalky stuff that you see. So it's the same thing that chocolate does too. It's very typical of a natural product like soy wax. Very typical of that. That's how you can tell that waxes are actually natural and no paraffins added, because you see that bloom on the top. Not always desirable, but if I would have altered my pouring temperature down maybe 20 more degrees, I would have gotten less bloom. I'm typically impatient though. For those that you know me, you know I'm impatient, so I like to, heat it up, add color, scent, pour right away, instant gratification. But you can see the difference between the two. That got a little more bloom. Oh, this candle actually poured hotter, much hotter, and you can see it has a little more bloom. This was poured at like 183 degrees, a little more bloom. I also put this outside because what happens a lot to make natural waxes fail is when they get cold. They like to bloom when it gets cold. They also like to get like jar separation in them, which this one did. It actually was outside freezing, which you should never do. You should never freeze your candles. It's bad for them. But it was outside freezing just because I wanted to see what would happen to it. And that's what happened. Still not horrible. I could remedy this. I could, put it under a heat gun for a little bit, put it in an oven for a little bit, and that would remedy that problem. But I just wanted to see what would happen to it if I put it outside. So I did that. All right. Here's another one. And this one, it was from the same green batch, so it was poured at 160. I did it in one of our hexagon jars. Now this jar has a bit of a neck on it, so sometimes that makes it a little trickier to pour. So got a little bit of bloom, but still very nice. I love, love, love the nice soft colors that this wax gets. You can brighten them up too, but it is just beautiful. And I love the way it burns too. We didn't even get to the burn yet, but we'll get to that in a minute. All right, so these little candles, I poured them yesterday. They're in the most difficult, one of the most difficult jars that we have. So this is it's a small candle, but it has a very thick glass. Thick glass is typically trickier to pour into because you'll get more, not as good jar adhesion, more separation on the jar. It also, the jars are cooler when you pour into them. So usually on a thicker glass, I would recommend you heating up the jars so that you get a more uniform look. And here's what we got. Not bad, but you can see a little bit of separation. If I had to do it in the future, I would, pour cooler, because the cooler pours turned out a little better. These, I poured at like 190 to 200, so these were really hot. This one actually got a little bit of dipping in the top. So again, by pouring cooler, you'll get more of a one pour. And that's with any natural wax. So any natural wax, if you pour cooler, except for palm. Palm's its own creature. But any of the soy blends or anything, the cooler you pour, the smoother tops you'll get. Not bad. I wouldn't, a heat gun will remedy all of this very easily. But if you don't want to take the time to, take a little bit of time when you're pouring to just make sure the wax is a little cooler. So this one is an orange candle, and these haven't even cooled for 24 hours. I literally poured these yesterday afternoon. This one I was kind of going to see what special effects we could do for these waxes. Again, I used a little jar, and I wanted to see if I could get a swirling pattern by adding the color later. And I did get that. So this was on purpose, just to see what would happen. If you're making, a lot of people do their natural candles with no color at all, that's fine. But I always want to see what kind of color happens. So this one I did with our Goji Tarocco orange scent. Absolutely wonderful. I tried swirling the color. It kind of made the outside not so appealing, but the top was really cool. So if I wanted to remedy this, I would either put this outside to fix it, or I would heat the outside with the heat gun. But it did get kind of a cool swirling pattern. And I used liquid dyes for these too. And then for the red one, so this is red. I did strawberry to get a pink. I wanted like a nice soft pink strawberries and cream color. Again, nice creamy smooth finish. I did not really pay attention to pour temperature on these. I was going for more artistic effect and pouring a bunch to see what would happen. Not everybody, a good portion of our group is super careful when they are pouring their waxes, pour temperatures, this, that, whatever, environment and stuff like that. The other larger chunk of our group heats their wax, adds color and scent, and pours. So I just wanted to see what would happen. That way you know what happens, and you can watch this video what happens if you don't watch your pour temperature. Still looks nice, still a very nice candle. Nice, I was going for the swirl look again, got a little bit of that. So, but very nice candle. This purple one, I was not going for the swirl effect. It's still swirled a little bit on the top. I really like that look though. Wow. This one, ooh, good point here. So these, again, I poured less than 24 hours later. This is our black raspberry vanilla. I just took the lid off, and all these scents that I'm taking the lid off, you can't smell it from where you are, but these smell incredible. So this doesn't have as long of a cure time as typical soy waxes too. So if you're using soy, you want something with a faster cure time so you can bring your products to market faster, this would be a very good choice. So excellent, excellent. Oh, it smells so good. It smells so good. So the cold throw is excellent on these two. So this little blue one, again, I wasn't really paying attention to pour temperatures. Turned out very nice and even. It was probably poured at a cooler temperature, if I wanted to say. I'm testing wood wicks in these because I like the wood wicks. Got a little bit of a swirl on the top. I think that swirl look is really cool. I do really, really like that. So if I was doing, I was doing one candle at a time, and these are a 3-ounce candle. If you were doing bigger batches and you didn't want that swirl on the top, obviously you wouldn't use as much dye, because I did 1 drop in this 3 ounces and got this color. You would actually do, in bigger batches, you would mix it more, and it would disperse easier and stuff like that, and you'd have a longer time. So I was just whipping these out to see what would happen. And then again, the little green ones, this was one I just couldn't, this was on my desk, I just couldn't stop test burning it because it was really nice. It was in our black pepper cardamom scent. And after it burns, you can see nice smooth tops, just like the white candle. All my other test burn victims you wouldn't want to see because they've been tried and true. We are trying a bunch of new wicks in these too. Along with wax being short, wicks are too. I'm sure you tried to find them and it's been frustrating. We're working on that problem too. We're testing a bunch of new wicks in these waxes as well. So that is our easy coconut container blend. I'm just gonna try to run through the questions here, see if there's anything based on this. Put my glasses on because I'm old and I can't see. Yeah. Andrea asked, what wick works best? Okay, excellent question. So I am testing a bunch of different wicks. I've already tested all the wicks that we have here. I have not found anything that fails in it. It even burns with zinc if you choose to use zinc. Typically you wouldn't use zinc in a natural wax, but I haven't really found anything that fails. Again, another reason I named this easy is because it's easy with the wicks. Very easy to wick, it goes by standard. We will be updating our wick chart with all the recommendations for this. Very, very easy to wick. So. Hasn't failed with anything. Nancy says, I've had issues with discoloring wax badly using a wood wick. Top wasn't really smooth. Yeah, it does do that. So this wax tends to not burn quite as hot. It gets a nice melt pool and a very nice scent throw, hot scent throw, but it doesn't, I haven't over wicked in a wood wick and done that, so I'm still testing more wood wicks in there and different types too. But that does happen. That's typical of a wood wick, especially if you let it burn all day long. So, what wicks do you recommend for this wax in a 3-inch container? So this is a 3-inch container. I didn't put a wick in it just because I wanted to abuse the wax and see what would happen. But this I would probably use a CD8 or CD10 or a paper core 5132 paper core or zinc core 5132. This is about 3 inches, so I would use that. And okay, I think I got it. If there's anything else, just post them in there and I will get to that later. So Carol asked, can this wax be used for melts? So the answer is yes and no. Remember, it's very similar to our coconut container wax, so it is very soft. In the summer, it's probably not going to release well from the little clamshell molds if you're doing it or whatever. It's not really designed to be molded and demolded. So the short answer is in the winter, it'll probably work better because wax is harder and more brittle in the winter. But in the summer, you may have problems. It may be a little mushy and stuff like that. So we're not recommending it for wax melts. Not saying that it can't be used in wax melts. It's just probably not the best option for wax melts. A little bit harder would work too. And at the end of the video, we'll get into more of that. So that's our easy coconut container. The next one we're gonna move over to here is, we're calling this our 2-in-1 advanced coconut container blend. We came up with this blend. So this is an improvement basically in the manufacturing process. It is made with soy, coconut, and palm. So it very much is similar to our coconut brew, only due to manufacturing practices and a little tweak in the formula and stuff like that, it does not weep. So there's been a lot of frustration with the coconut brew in the wintertime weeping. So we counteracted that by this. So we are not discontinuing, again, we're not discontinuing anything that we already have, but this kind of solves the problems of the coconut brew weeping. It has an excellent scent throw like the coconut brew, same thing. The scent on this is really crazy strong, so you can almost put this wax against paraffin for scent throw and try it out. So it is that good. So again, I made a few candles. This was interesting, and wax melts. So turns out like this in wax melts. Very nice. They crack out easy. They should. I'm just going to open this one, pop it out. So it should release nice and easy. Still a little warm. Yeah. So it pops out. All right, trying to not make a mess of everything. So these pop out. The cubes are still nice and soft. So this is gonna, as soon as people put this in their wax melters and stuff like that, it's gonna melt down really fast, give a nice scent delivery system. Very good scent throw. Almost a little too strong in that one, so if that's possible. But this may be, we'll get to this a little later in the video, but I did my test candles in the exact same scents and the exact same colors so we could kind of compare and see which ones was stronger. because I felt, my gut reaction is I felt this one was stronger because everything I test burned in this candle was kind of overbearing. The other candle I had at my desk made my office smell great. It was good, but when I test burned these, they tended to be a little overbearing in the office. It was very strong. So another thing about this one, when it burns, it does this, I think it's kind of cool. May not be desirable though, but it's something you should know. It burns and it kind of, you know, blooms and gets an uneven surface on the top. Perfectly natural, not anything you're doing wrong if you make candles out of this one. We're calling it the 2-in-1 blend because it is good for containers. It's also good for wax melts. So 2 different things in one wax. And it didn't seem to matter which wick I used. They all burned with that kind of funky thing, which is kind of cool. I was thinking about putting some cosmetic glitter on there because it would kind of give it a new dimension. Kind of neat though. So then I was wondering, this also burns a little bit slower than the Easy Coconut Container Wax. So I would recommend going the next wick size up with this one, just because it's a little bit slower burning. It has a higher melt point, burns a little slower for you. So I'd recommend going up a wick size on that. So I was wondering what would happen with this wax. And again, so you can see the outside, decent finish and stuff like that. I didn't mess with this. This one I poured it like 170 degrees, so you don't have to let these cool crazy like you do, you know, for soy waxes. I wanted to kind of see, since it did this thing when the wicks were burning cool, I wanted to pour it as cool as absolutely possible without the wax solidifying to see if I could get that effect throughout the full candle. And I got this. This was actually a 2-pour. So on the bottom I was working on a swirl kind of thing. And then up here when I poured the wax, that was poured at 110 degrees. So you see very even, very uniform, nice smooth top on everything. So, so it didn't do that cool effect through the candle like I was hoping maybe it would. I was trying to invent a whole new effect, but it didn't do that for me. But that's okay. That's okay. It's still, it looks beautiful. It's a beautiful candle. So it's strawberries and cream because I'm super in the mood for strawberries, even though they're not going to bloom around here for a couple more months. So, and then these candles, again, I did our little jar. This is no color, no scent. The lid's on very good. This was poured at 190, so very hot. You can see the tops on this poured at 190. Pretty smooth for a natural wax being poured at the top. Now this is all plant wax, so this is a vegan wax too. The Easy Coconut Container Wax that we just talked about does have beeswax in it, so it's not vegan, but it's still all natural because beeswax is all natural. So this is a vegan blend. So that's a pretty nice top for being poured so warm. This one I went down a little bit. Again, pretty smooth top. Nice, you know, for being poured. This is poured at 180. Pretty smooth top. This one is pineapple and yellow. And it, you know, literally it was poured like 12 hours ago. And it smells really good. There's already a good scent growth, so cure time on this is a lot less than most typical plant waxes too. So, this one, again, it's our orange and our Goji Tarako orange. I went down a little bit on the pour temperature, so this was poured at 170. You can see not a big difference on the smooth top or anything like that. Yeah, so not a huge difference there. There's a bigger difference when we went down to, you know, the 110. Now this candle, nice and even on the outside. This one I didn't pay attention to the pour temperature, so I'm pretty sure it was like 190 to 200. Again, nice. It has a nice smooth top on it too. So that tells me that you don't have to be too particularly careful with the pour temperature. This blue one, again, I didn't pay attention to pour temperature. Pretty smooth top. Yeah, none of these sunk. No heat gun was required or anything like that. So I was pretty happy with the results of these. And they all smell, oh my gosh, I did this in a pine, just because pine's one of our most popular sellers, especially during the holidays. Very, very strong scent growth. So no compromise in scent with these. Let me bring you up close. So this one is going to, oh, I'm getting dizzy here. This one's going to look like the other one too, as far as in pastille forms. Nice and smooth. Yeah. So that looks the same. And I do have to say, we've opened a bunch of cases of these just to, you know, quality check and stuff like that, just to see how the raw product looks when it gets here and stuff like that. We did not see any discoloration. We did not see any machine oil parts in it or anything like that from the conveyors. this company really has their act together, and it's a big benefit of going with like one of the huge blenders. It's all the cases were just absolutely beautiful. The product that's in there, nothing was wet, no water, which is all good stuff too. So we were super happy about that. Let me see if there's any questions about this wax. All this information is posted to our site too. And, all right. Kelly said, is the color more white than the coconut brew? Good question. Good question. I don't have coconut brew here, but it does look like it, right? This is no color at all, so this is what the wax looks like. Very good question. So this, I believe it is. Coconut brew tends to be a little more of the natural color, so yeah. Jeff says too strong, never. Agreed, until you have to make a scent that you're not really particularly fond of, then they tend to be the strongest candles that you have. So, Linda asked, what wick size would be good for a 16-ounce candle that will make a candle burn level and no black soot? And the same. So these all burned as I burned them. There was absolutely no sooting whatsoever in either of the blends. I could not get any soot. I tried to overwick it. Short of putting my shoelace in there, which I did not try, but short of putting my shoelace in there, I've overwicked grossly. And they wouldn't soot. They're very, very clean. All of them are very, very clean. That's important to me in the world where I started, in the paraffin world, and you kind of got used to the candles burning smoky and sooting up your house and needing to paint your ceilings all the time and stuff like that. A clean burn is like super, super important to me. I really like that because I don't want to have to do that ever again in my life. Been there, done that. No reason for soot. And I'm a little more careful about my lungs these days too, because I like being able to breathe and everything. So I just feel like when a candle's burning so hot that it soots, I just feel like that's kind of heavy on my lungs. It's just me, could be me, but you know, I like a nice clean burn. That's really important to me. So that's that wax, and onward to our last of all three. So this is kind of an old favorite that we're bringing back. We haven't had in a while. We're calling it Advanced Votive Pillar Blend Wax. It is a soy wax for votive and pillars. So if you've been with us for a while, you were probably using a product a few years ago that you've missed greatly because it hasn't been available on the market. Now it is back, and it is absolutely beautiful. I tried it in a bunch of different molds, which we will demold and see how it goes. I wanted to see how it would act, so I used it. First I tried whipping it, pouring a little cupcake and whipping it. I really should have done white icing instead of matching it with the cupcake. But one thing that's interesting, so if you've ever made cupcakes with paraffin wax, see if I can get these out. I did not spray these, so. If you've ever made cupcakes with paraffin wax, you know that when you whip it up, yeah, no, that's not going to release. You have to spray it with mold release to get it to release. When you whip up the wax using paraffin, the whipped part is a lot lighter than what the bottom part would be. So the part that you poured is going to be a lot darker color, whereas this turned out the same. So when I whipped it up, I didn't see any color difference in it. But of course I can't demold it, so I can't show you that. The next mold that I used, and it did whip up nice, it was a nice and creamy whip. So if you're going for that crumbly look, it really didn't do that. But I didn't play around too much with trying to get that, because the creamier look, people are doing smoothie candles and everything like that. The creamier look has been much more popular lately. They're piping it. You can pipe this wax too. It'll pipe nicely for you. It's very, it's slow cooling, so it gives you a decent amount of time, like if you're in the piping bag too. So I thought it would be kind of cool. I thought of this last night in the middle of the night. It'd be cool to put that wax into a piping bag and do like little wax melts out of it. That would be really neat, in different shapes for the spring, just in different flower shapes. The next mold that I did is one of our urethane molds, and this is our muffin. I did a chocolate muffin. I have not taken this out yet, so if it fails on camera, you've seen it first. But typically with soy waxes or any natural waxes, when you put them in molds, especially molds with a lot of detail, they tend to be brittle and maybe the details don't come out as much, but we are going to find out. So I did spray this again with mold release so it would come out nicely, which it is doing. You can see that. Yeah, it's doing it. And I made a chocolate muffin because seemed like a good thing yesterday when I was hungry in the afternoon. And I did put a wick pin in this, so. All right, so that's what it looked like when it came out. Again, since it's a natural wax, it's a soy wax, it's a little bit softer in color, not quite as dark as a paraffin. I think this is a 5-ounce candle, and I used about 3 drops of liquid dye. I didn't scent it, even though I really should have, but it came out a nice chocolate color, nice and easy. So you see, that's how much it shrank too. So there's a little dipping around the wick, but not a whole lot of dipping. Again, didn't really pay attention to pouring temperature. I heated the wax up to 180, added the color, and then poured and got this, and I'm super happy with this. So I like that. I think that works. So would definitely use urethane or silicone molds with this wax, worked out good. Next experiment was in an aluminum mold, and this is big. This is like a 5x4 inch candle. I didn't wick it because I have this really cool candle machine that will drill a hole in here, and I can just put in pre-tab wicks. I'm actually going to do 2 wicks in this one, 2 or 3 wicks, haven't decided yet, but I'm going to do that. So this big candle, which is about 2.5 pounds of wax, I wanted to see how the heat would do in it, how it shrank. That's how much shrinkage I got, not much at all. And I also drizzled the sides of the mold with liquid dye because I wanted kind of a swirling effect to see if this would swirl or not. A lot of times when you do that, it just blends in there. So we will see what happens. I sprayed this with mold release. You can see it has released nice around the side. It's kind of clunking around in there. Comes out super nice out of aluminum. So you can see the finish on that, nice and smooth, opaque. It's just beautiful. So, and then I see my dye at the top. So didn't swirl like I wanted to. In the middle it did. I like that, so, but just an experiment, no big deal. Wanted to see what it would do. But yeah, so this looks really nice. It's a nice matte finish. Soy waxes always give a matte finish in like containers. It also gives a matte finish in the candle too, on the finished candle. But that looks really nice. I really like that candle. So put that aside. And my last but not least, I was experimenting with polycarbonate mold just to see what would happen, because if anybody makes freestanding candles or pillar candles, you know that each mold presents its own challenges. Mold leaking is a big challenge, so I always kind of put duct tape around it just to keep some of the leaking away. And when I pour, anytime I pour a candle in a mold, I always put it in a pie shell. That way if it wants to leak out or whatever, the wax is in there. I don't have any wax tragedies going down my kitchen or all over the cabinets or anything like that, or in my workshop here, my classroom. And I also put a piece of mold seal and duct tape on the bottom too. That way the wax can't leak out where the wick comes out of the mold. And I did have like a jillion votives, but I kind of burned them all because they smelled really good. I was kind of addicted to it. We're doing construction at my house at home. Doesn't always smell great, especially when things are being stained, spackled, painted. Doesn't smell great. So I've been going through a lot of candles lately. All right, so one thing I did notice, this is the size of my hand, so this is what, 4 inches tall. In this mold, I did see a little bit of shrinkage and crackage. Again, I poured this at about 180 degrees. If I had to do this candle again, I would lower the pouring temperature. When you pour hotter into mold, sometimes you get a better finish on it, so I try to pour it as hot as I can without getting too much shrinkage. So this did crack a little bit. I would assume it's just because of the heat displacement and the size of the candle and everything, how that works. So if I had to do it again, I would pour it at a cooler temperature. That top popped right off. If all goes well, the bottom should slide out nicely too. Yeah, and we have a nice egg shape. So this one actually looks shinier, so you can see in the lights the glare on it. So the polycarbonate mold actually gave the finish on the candle a pretty shiny finish. So that's different than what our aluminum did and our urethane. So that's interesting. If you look at these two, the polycarbonate with the egg gave a shinier finish, and that gave a softer finish. And then the urethane gave the most rustic all, which I don't mind because it's a it's a muffin, so that should be more rustic. It shouldn't be shiny. I've never eaten a shiny muffin in my life, so the rustic finish on that does not bother me. But that's how the polycarbonate turns out in there. So overall I'm happy. I did use metal molds. I poured some star shapes just because I kind of wanted to try these out. I didn't try them out yet. I poured cores for carved candles. I wanted to see if we could come up with a, an all natural carved candle way to do so. That's still work in progress and testing and stuff like that too. For the molds, I did spray them with this mold release too, so that way it comes out nice and easy. Nothing more frustrating than wax that sticks in the molds. That'll make you curse. One of the easiest things in the whole world to make you curse. Let's take you over to this wax and I'll show this one too. So if you look at these all together, so again, nice brills, real easy. This one's the hardest of all, so it's got like a 135 mel point, so it's actually, out of all of them, it's the hardest. The other ones, since they're designed to be in containers, they're not quite as hard as the votive wax. If you mix them up, initially you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, but once you've worked with them, and if you mix them up, especially if you just have one container, if you buy both containers, it might be a little confusing at first until you get to work with them. But if you buy the container and the pillar, there's no mistake. You'll be able to tell them apart, even though they look exactly the same. So our website pictures look almost exactly the same, but I did take pictures from each individual wax. So that's it for our natural waxes today. We're super excited about these again. Hopefully they will be in good supply. From working with them, I really liked working with them and kept making candles, and I'm like, I have to keep some here, but I really want to take some home and burn them too. These are going to work nice, the container ones, in any type of container. So if you're doing the cement candles, if you're doing jars, if you're doing, crocks, dough bowls, anything, it works nice in those. Burns nice and clean. Again, all of them burn nice and clean, super clean burn. They've been very friendly with all the wicks that I've used. I'm trying to find one that doesn't work so I can post that in there, but they've been super friendly with it, and just real easygoing waxes, real nice to use overall. So that's why they joined our Candles and Supplies family here. So let me look through, see if there's any other questions. You can always, even when this video is over, you can post in the thread. We're going to be monitoring the thread so that we can answer your questions. You're welcome to call us too. Come into our showroom. I'm going to take all this stuff out in our showroom so you can come visit these candles personally and see what they're all about too. Linda says, what wick would be good for a 16-ounce candle that will make a candle burn level and no black soot? Oh, I think we already got that one, sorry. What wick size? Yeah. I think I already did that one, sorry. Gotta scroll down here. Have you tried the 2-in-1 with wood wicks? Yes, I did try it with wood wicks. Again, I find that compared to the Easy Coconut, I just have to go up a size. It definitely burns a lot better with wood wicks than just straight soy wax does. So I would say it's good with wood wicks. We like it. We're going to recommend it with wood wicks too. So could I possibly blend it with a small percentage of Easy Coconut to have a smoother top after burning? Yes, all of these waxes blend nicely together too. And another thing that I wanted to get on, so if you get the Easy container and wanted to use it in melts, I get a little bit of this votive too. This is just soy, still keeping your all natural, mix them together, and you can have a nice wax melt. So they do all mix nicely together and burn nicely together. Can you fix weeping in coconut brew? Yes, you can blend it with any one of these waxes. You could add beeswax to it, you could add paraffin to it, you can use Vibar with it, that'll all fix it too. But just blending it with something else, it helps out tremendously. You can put a little more coconut in there too, so that does help. Let's see. Lots of people today. Thanks for joining us today. Can you advise the numbers on each wax? So they are, if you visit our site right now, they're on the homepage of our site. There's also a link to all of them. I think the number for the 2-in-1 is wax-cocoa-2N1, and then wax-cocoa-easy for the easy one, and then soy-PB for the soy wax. Try to name them simple so that we can all catch on to it. So the one that is good for whipping is our pillar blend. That worked out really good. Nice smooth. It was very, very smooth. I was shocked about that. I thought it would be not quite as easy and creamy looking as it is. So, okay. What else? Wonderful presentation. Thanks again. Oh, well, thank you, Wendy Lou. Connie says, which one would be best for lotion candles? I knew you were going to ask that question. I thought about that last night. So I would My personal favorite was the Easy Coconut for lotion candles because it's got that little bit of beeswax in there. I really like beeswax in lotion because it provides, when you put the lotion on, it provides a seal without being greasy. So it seals your lotion and keeps your hands feeling moisturized. My hands feel wonderful from working in the wax just in this video, so I would use that one. The other one, the 2-in-1, that would probably work good for lotion candles too. It's a vegan option if vegan's important to you, so that would work good too, but personally for me, I would pick the Easy Coconut. All right, Nancy Preston says, this is great, please do more. I've been working on a whole list of new things to do on Facebook Lives and stuff, so thank you very much. That motivates me to do more and keep on going with this, so yeah, good feedback. If there's anything else you guys want to see, feel free to like, shoot me a message, post it on our Facebook page too. We're going to go through and do a wick one in a few weeks. Testing all different wicks, about test burning, how to test burn your candles, what to look through. So look for, because there seems to be a lot of questions on that, especially these days where it's super hard to find your wicks that you're looking for. So look forward to that. We will be doing that, and also some new fun things that we've been working on here. So all right, everybody, thank you so much for coming and watching today. It was great being here with you, and I look forward to more. Have a great day.